Alright, so I just wanted to make a quick video, maybe with some tips and advice regarding front motor mount replacement on, in this case it's an 05 Acura RSX Type S. So I already took out the old motor mount. You can see it's broken at the top there. I'll go ahead and show you guys. So new motor mounts in. That is the part number. Hope you can read it. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I got it from Acura Parts Warehouse, their website, and yeah, just replaced it with an OEM mount. Let's see, tools you're gonna want. You'll want a 17mm wrench, something like that. That's really helpful. You'll also want a 17mm socket and ratchet. The wrench is actually something I started off just using the ratchet, but I couldn't get enough leverage in some sections, and with its kind of thicker profile, it was hard to get into those tighter areas. So a wrench is super helpful to have. Definitely recommend using one of those for this job. Go ahead and kind of just show you guys a little view from the top. I don't know if you can see much, but hopefully you can see that silvery portion. That's where the new mount is, and then on top it's got that blue plastic kind of it's just holding the wires in. So you'll see there's that little blue tab in the middle. So you'll want to once you get under there, you'll want to pull up on that little tab there and then just pull that out. I'm just showing you guys right now that view from the top because it's probably going to be easier to see that than when we're down at the bottom. So anyways, so we'll go down. We'll take a look at the situation underneath. So, like I said, I've already replaced them. So you got 4 bolts to undo. So you got that one up there. You're gonna have that one right there at the bottom, and then you're gonna have that one up there. So it's by that blue plastic piece that I was talking about earlier. And then you got that bolt that goes through the mount, and then on the other end of that bolt is that nut there. Let's see. And you might be able to see it, how that's got that little portion that sticks out. So just make sure that when you undo that, you're just that you're only cranking on the side of it with the bolt, because you just don't want to break out that piece there. So just make sure that you're cranking on that bolt there, not the nut. So you'll just have to remove those 4 bolts that I showed you, and then you'll also have to unclip like that little blue piece there that I was talking about earlier. Pull up on the tab and then pull it out. And then there's another one up there that I'd remove as well. At least that's what I ended up doing. Kind of same process, just gives you a little more room to work. And then up there with a battery box, that wiring continues, and it's just got a little indentation that what you can do is just pull it out of there, out of the indentation, and it makes that the wire there just a little more flexible when you're moving it around. You can undo the bolts without moving that too much, but you're going to want that moved for when it's time to actually take the mount out. So once that's all taken off, the bolts are all off, you can just kind of twist it out to the left here, and you know, it's doable. That's how I did it. So it's just going to take some patience, and just be careful that you don't push up against that fan too hard or break anything in the process. You'll just have to be a little patient and you know, just kind of careful. But you can totally just twist it out of there, and it comes right out. And then, you know, kind of reverse process for just putting it back in, putting in the new mount. Let's see, I used plenty of PB Blaster on the bolts. None of them were that difficult to undo. I just did the PB Blaster to be safe. I didn't end up like using a breaker bar or anything like that. It seems like you really shouldn't need to. I mean, you know, it definitely took some force to undo the bolts, but nothing too crazy. So I think if you're having too much difficulty there, maybe just hit it with some more PB Blaster. Maybe let it settle a little more in there, just to make sure that you don't end up snapping anything off. They're pretty thick bolts, but you know, it's probably always a good idea just to be safe there. So yeah, I definitely recommend some PB Blaster. And then when you're under here, if you're spraying that, make sure you got like some glasses on, and Make sure you're not wearing any clothes that you love, because you might get that on your clothes and it could ruin it or just smell bad, and it's kind of annoying. Anyway, so yeah, and then when you're putting them back in, let's see, recommendations that I saw was to start with the bolt that goes through the mount. So that's what I started with, and just threaded that through the nut on the other side. And then, just kind of get those bolts hand tightened. And they hand tighten like pretty far in. I got probably 90% of the way with hand tightening them. And then I finally used a wrench, and then you just got to torque them down to 47 foot-pounds, I believe. But yeah, just be careful, because I was really happy with how easily they threaded back in. So if they're not threading back in super easily for you, just make sure you're not cross-threading them, or maybe the threads on the bolt have gotten dirty somehow or whatever when you took them out. So just be careful of that. It wasn't very difficult to get them back in. It was actually a pretty smooth process getting them back in. Other bit of advice is, I ended up putting the floor jack right around under the oil pan here, and I just put a textbook in between the floor jack and the oil pan. There wasn't too much pressure on it. I could move the textbook out from between them. That was just the recommendations that I was seeing online. And I think it's just in case you have to, take some pressure off the mounts or whatever. But yeah, I was pretty happy with how this worked out. Everything lined back up pretty easily. So yeah, just the 4 bolts there, and then those clips there, just to get that wire out of the way. Another kind of point of difficulty is, when torquing it down, it's see if you can find a torque wrench that can get in there easily, because that's pretty tight, and that's not like a straight shot, unless you got something like, I was able to use the wrench and get to the point where I'm sitting right here on the subframe with the wrench, and then I turn it. But if you got unless you got a really shallow socket, it's going to be really hard to get that one there and be on the outside of the subframe. You'll have to get in here, and then the problem is, most of the time, like a torque wrench would probably be too long to fit in that portion there. So that's just another thing to consider. But yeah, overall, not a bad process. I haven't done too much DIY stuff on my car, but this one turned out pretty good, and I think the part was like around 150, and you could save quite a bit of money on labor if you want to do it yourself. It took me a long time, because I was just being really careful on a lot of this stuff. But this is something you could do in like an hour and a half, maybe less time, if you kind of know what you're doing. And so yeah, pretty easy little project there, as long as you don't break anything. So just be careful and use BB Blaster, or don't go too crazy, because that just complicates things quite a bit. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much. If you guys got some questions, just let me know, and I will do my best to answer them. Thanks.